I'm Jenn Urso, founder of Activate Within, which is a community for spirited professionals who really want to smash, and that is a strong and powerful word, and I love it, but who truly want to smash old ways of being, thinking, and doing in favor of a life and a career that feels better. And to me, better is something that is energizing, that is nourishing, and that is deeply personal. I'm so excited to be here to talk about a beautiful work life and what that means. It's been my journey for the past 4 years, and I'll tell you a little more about my journey later. But first, I want to say that I really want to start out with a deep and vulnerable share, which is that in preparing for this session, I had a moment of doubt myself. I'm very connected to this work, and it really is my life's mission, my business mission. But in preparing for this session, especially last week with the invasion of Ukraine, I had a moment of doubt, meaning that is this topic, a beautiful work life, really the most relevant, most urgent thing that we can be talking about today, given the context of the greater world? And where I landed is that, yes, absolutely. It is more relative and more imperative than ever, because the way that we spend our daily lives tells us, do we have life to give? Or are we draining our own precious life force within us? Do we have energy to tackle these big macro issues at play? And so I think it's really essential that we take a moment and think about, do we have a beautiful work life? Because our work life is our life. But first, before we go any further, I want to tell you a little about who I am and my own journey getting here. So in the top upper corner, you'll see my headshot as a vice president at an insurance trade association in Washington, D.C. in 2018. And that year was really pivotal to me because I had simultaneously been pouring all of this headspace, heart space, time, and attention into developing my career, like I'm sure many of you, because I know that as professionals, we come to the table and we really put our whole being into who we are and what we're doing. And yet I had this recognition that what I was doing felt really painful. The overall work experience felt really stifling, really constricting, and in essence, just quite painful. In 2015, 3 years prior to that big epiphany, I had this tattooed on the back of my neck. It says, "Follow your spirit without hesitation." Someone gave me this very key piece of advice, and it was so impactful to me in that moment. I had my whole body kind of electrify when she said this to me. That I knew I'd have to remember it, and I know that I'd have to model it at some point in my day. So again, I'm going to repeat this to you so you too can follow it. Follow your spirit without hesitation. So leaning into that knowledge and remembering just how impactful it was when I heard that piece of information, I realized in 2018 that I had to do something in my life and align a career with it that was truly meaningful and truly life-giving. So in 2018, I resigned from my job far before the Great Resignation took hold, and I decided to take a year sabbatical. I traveled around the world from Costa Rica, Spain, France, Portugal, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, California, and Oregon. And I really reflected on who I was, who I had become, and who I wanted to be, and what I wanted to bring forth into the world. I knew there had to be a better way to experience work. One that was more calm, more life-giving, more energizing, and more nourishing. And so I launched my business, Activate Within, in 2019 to be a voice, an ambassador, and a catalyst to a new road of working. As I was traveling through the world, I encountered all sorts of professionals and people, from CEOs to startup founders to mid-level professionals to students about to enter the workforce. And what I heard from them when I asked this question, what is the work experience to you? What does work mean to you? I found there was a deep and profound frustration and disenchantment with the work system, but also equally this really innate drive, this heart, this incredible spirit around wanting to bring out everything that they had as a person into their professional life. But they also found that the system felt stifling. So there was this deep, deep depletion that I found many people harbored. And when I thought about why is that? What has happened? And when I was in Ubud, Bali, traveling, I worked with a healer there who told me that in the past 3 years, most of the people had come to her for work-related issues and trauma. So that means that far before the pandemic, there was this epidemic of work-related trauma brewing and mounting. And so there was this tension happening. And I thought to myself, what is the purpose, or I'm sorry, what is really the driver of all of this? And I think that there's just a lot of fear. We are leading with fear. We are allowing and enabling fear-based leadership to survive and thrive. And what is the opposite of fear? Well, it's love. And in my definition, love is presence, it's connection, it's respect, partnership, kindness, empathy, trust, and prioritization. These are all attributes that I think belong in the work environment. Whether you're an employee at an organization, a consultant, a contractor, a gig worker, or any other kind of work structure that we have available to us today, if you're working, I think that these attributes belong in your work environment. And when thinking about the work environment that most of us have today, a lot of these things are lacking. And when we don't have these, we don't have that precious life force energy within us that is available to not only help us be the best and brightest that we can be, but then also helps transform our communities, our cities, our networks, our organizations, and society at large. And so, like I said in the beginning, when I was thinking about how is this really relevant within the whole societal factor that we're talking about today, I think about how broken the world sometimes feels. In the past couple of years, and certainly today, we have seen so many inequalities, so many injustices rise up to the surface. And they're not new. These have been growing and building for years and years and years. And sometimes it feels that the world is imploding and exploding all around us. I know that sometimes I really need to sit back and think, what can I do as an individual to make a difference in all of these systemic issues in the world today? And again, the answer comes to, we need to preserve some of our energy and our life force, because there is no planet B, not that we know of today. This is the home planet for our shared species and for our beautiful planet and for nature and the animals and all of the inhabitants that share it. We deserve and we demand and we should command a world that has more harmony, more healing, more love, and more calmness in it. And so going back to that individual factor, what can we do? One such thing is create a beautiful work life for us. Because again, when we transform ourselves, when we take the attention to who we are and we do the work to really transform who we are on an individual level, we become the best and brightest versions of ourselves. We have more time, effort, attention to give to those around us. And when we start being the best and brightest that we can be, we then form these clusters, whether they're with your networks or your communities, your cities, your companies. When we have these clusters of people that are their brightest and best selves, we inherently can improve and change society. So we become inherent change makers in societal change. Because we do know today. Yes.
Jenn, can you advance your slides, please?
I am, so they're not going.
Oh, they're not.
You should see quality of work. You should see quality of work life equals quality of life.
No, it's okay. Let's just keep going. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. We've practiced, obviously, and rehearsed, and I don't know what's happening right now. So we're going to roll with it. So to my point, the quality of work life equals quality of life overall. I think that we really saw that through the pandemic. It's one of the gems or the gifts of the pandemic. And I say that with sensitivity because obviously the pandemic has brought so much struggle, so much sadness, so much tragedy and death. However, there are some gems that have risen up as well. And I think that this blurring between what we thought was a work life and the other life, really we can say that the integration is that life is life. So the quality of our work life equals the quality of our overall life. And so I have been running, or I've been participating and co-leading in a working group that is a collective of consultants, facilitators, and professionals from across the world in many different industries. And our group comes together with a shared ethos of creating a work life and a work experience that feels better, that is more human, that is more thoughtful, and that is more nourishing. Last year, we conducted a study in the summer of 2021, and we asked participants this simple question: what are the ingredients of a beautiful work life? We had about 305 people respond to that survey, all knowledge workers across the world. There is a heavy concentration in North America and Europe from the respondents. So the results do have a Western lean, and we will be running this survey again this year in just a couple of months. And we would love to invite any of you who wish to participate to do so. And at the end, we'll be collecting emails if you'd like to participate. One of the key questions that we asked participants in the summer of 2021 is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how beautiful is your work life? 1 being not beautiful and 10 being very beautiful. And the respondents mostly came in at an 8, with 7 and 9 right after that. So that means that of the respondents, 7 to 9 with an 8, that's a pretty high score. So people that answered this said that they have a beautiful work life. We distilled all the data that they gave us into 7 main ingredients, or you can think of this as 7 main pillars. And because their score is so high of having a beautiful work life, this suggests to us that these pillars or these ingredients are lived values versus aspirational values. They are pillars, they are ingredients, they are values that people who have a beautiful work life say, this is exactly what makes up a beautiful work life for me. And so I'll go ahead and review those ingredients now. Those 7 ingredients are awareness and realization, security and safety, organizational structure, meaning and purpose, aliveness, agency, and belonging. I'm going to walk through each one of these to give you a little more context for each one. And I'll start with awareness and realization. So one of the main points under awareness and realization is self-actualization through your work. So is the work that you're doing bringing out your greatest potential, bringing out your unique traits, your talents, and your passions? So really, are you developing into the best version of yourself through the work that you're doing? Security and safety. Security and safety means that holistically you feel safe in the work that you're doing and in the work environment in which you belong. So we talk a lot about psychological safety these days, very important, but also emotional safety, spiritual safety, physical safety, financial safety. Do we feel completely safe and do we feel secure through the work that we're doing? Organizational structure. So this has to do with all the inner workings of the organization, such as leadership, such as the culture, such as the order and the process and the operational structures that make up an organization. Meaning and purpose. Does the work that you're doing matter to you as an individual? So oftentimes we're connected to an organization because we're attracted to their mission, and that's wonderful. But it also is very important that the work that you do, the function that you do, the role that you have, it aligns with what's truly important to you on an individual basis. Aliveness. Personally, this is my favorite and my North Star. So aliveness means that you feel fully alive. You feel fully charged up in the work that you're doing. I know that before I resigned from my previous career, I didn't have aliveness. I felt very much like there were parts of myself that were hidden, that were turned off. I felt half lit more than I felt alive and fully present, fully available to what was happening because I was so happy. The next one is agency. Agency means having choice, having options, and being in control of those choices and options. So freedom. And the last ingredient is belonging. Belonging. Do you feel like your entire self belongs in the work that you're doing? Again, can you bring out that entire self, your mind, your body, your spirit, and any other parts of yourself? Can you really step into the work that you're doing and have a sense of belonging? So those are the 7 ingredients. I truly wish that you could see them, and we can get those into the chat. Catherine, do you mind?
I have put them in the chat. Thanks.
You're so wonderful. Thank you. So I wanted to bring up some discussion questions as well, which we're not going to get to right now. Just want to plant the seed, and we'll let these questions sit with you for a moment. And then I'm going to continue to talk, and then we'll come back to the discussion questions just for our dialogue. I'll read those to you now.
Just as a time check, we're coming up on the 20 minutes. Just want to leave time for a discussion.
Yep, I'm about to wrap up. So those questions are: which ingredient resonates the most with you? What does a beautiful work life feel like to you? And I want to emphasize that feeling aspect. Do you have a beautiful work life? And what makes it beautiful, or what makes it not beautiful? So in summary, I hope that you all take this information and use it as a spark to really think about what makes your work life beautiful and how it could be more beautiful, and that you deserve to have the most beautiful work life, because life is precious and humanity needs us. The planet needs us. We need to be our full, present, available, brightest versions of ourselves to really address these macro issues that are rising to the surface. And I know that I feel incredibly motivated and privileged to be able to be talking about really raising the bar in our daily lives, in our work lives. And again, an invitation that if you'd like to stay connected to the work that I'm doing with Activate Within, which includes the work of the collaborative working group that I mentioned that's doing the survey, I would love to stay connected to you. Just drop your email into the chat. We'll collect those, and I'll send an email to you with more information on how to stay connected. And with that, I want to thank you for your patience with all of this tech stuff. And we do want to open the space for questions and comments. Okay, so just, is it okay if I just kick off the dialogue, Catherine?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
I do want to take down the screen share so that we can have everyone here.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Hi, everyone. Okay, so I would love to know which ingredient resonates the most with you. Catherine has put them into the chat, and since we're such a small group, I want to point out to Jill McCarthy, because she is a dear friend and a collaborator and a co-leader in the working group who ran this survey. So Jill, just wanted to say hi and point you out too. All right. So out of these ingredients: agency, awareness and realization, belonging, security and safety, organizational structure, meaning and purpose, and aliveness. Which one of those stand out to you? Which one resonates the most with you right now? Maybe it's because you have it and it's a high value, or you don't have it and you really want and need it. I think we can just unmute since we're so small.
Yeah.
But if you're more comfortable with chat, please feel free.
Yes. Thanks, Jen, and wonderful. It was awesome to be able to be in the audience to hear you explain our work, which has been quite riveting. For me, I think it fluctuates at different times, but belonging is pretty huge. So I'm an independent consultant, and I think that that need for belonging is actually how Jen and I have come together, because I like working with a team and having that sense of community, even somebody to just bounce ideas off of, whether they're right, wrong, or even just, you know, hey, want to listen to this for a second. So belonging.
I'll go, and just a note, I'm going to have to drop off at the bottom of the hour for another meeting. One thing that always strikes me is purpose, and one thing I've learned in my life is maybe we don't all have a purpose or the purpose. We might have multiple purposes, and maybe one of them is fulfilled through work and others aren't. You're fulfilled through other ways. but certainly at least one of your purposes ought to be showing up at work. And if you can align 2 or 3 into your superpower, that's great.
Yeah, great thoughts. Thank you. Thank you for the share. Who's next?
I will go.
Oh yeah, Pascal.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say aliveness. I am more and more aware how aliveness in my workplace influence myself, like the energies of people around and my own energy. And I remember when I started working 8 years ago, I arrived in the workplace and I was looking at people around, and everybody looked so serious and so so calm and so no energy, right?
Mm.
And this is something that I am starting to bring back in my life, and just looking what's the energy in the room, right? And that's I care a lot about that.
Me too. Thank you for your share.
I was going to say the same, also aliveness, but I think also in combination with self-actuation, that you can really feel that you are on the path of your purpose or what you're destined to do in your work. I'm an entrepreneur, so that's really very necessary to do that. And it also makes me feel very alive when I'm really tuned in that area. So I would say that if in all the businesses that I walk into and I don't see any aliveness, I start looking at the self-actuation and the purpose of people and seeing if they are really giving the freedom to be who they are in a safe environment, of course. But I think it's the best ingredient to look at and to see how people are working.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I can also add, I also wanted to say belonging, and I think it's a pretty big part of also just connecting with the team, which I realized even more in the last couple of years where we stayed in home office mainly and really have this connection, but then also further since I'm working in a consultancy as a consultant, and we do a lot of co-creation with the customers. So it used to be, okay, we have an NA call, we show up with the solution, and then they like it or not. And now it's more a process where we really also get the chance to build a relationship and really empathize with what they need. And that I think also creates this, we're one team working on the solution, doesn't matter which company we work for, we just try to do the best for the project or for the solution or what's needed. And I think that increased a lot this sense of belonging. And I think as the second one, I would have the awareness and realization that I think even also in the last years, now you show up, right? And you cannot so much hide your private life, which was used to be like a no-go work, work talk topic. And now you cannot even prevent it. And I think it's something beautiful because you can really kind of be your whole self and don't need to differentiate it as much as it was before.
Yeah, great points. Thank you, everyone. And I'd love to know, do you find yourself and those around you using personal values more than they have in, let's say, the past 3 years? So pre-pandemic versus now. Do you feel like personal values has become not only a topic of conversation, but something that you see people using to make decisions in your close communities, your close networks?
I'll go. I certainly do. With several of my clients, I work with nonprofits, and I see volunteers who show up, and they show up based on the values that they have that they feel are aligned with what we're doing. And we have no shortage now of volunteers when we need them, which is great. And most of that work is for social and emotional learning, emotional intelligence for kids. And a lot of people are showing up for that. And I think that also aligns with concern for mental health, especially youth mental health.
Yes, yes. Great points. Anyone else?
But what I do see here is that people are more, well, they are forced to do more reflections because they didn't have that many chances to go out and to just do fun things or be with others, so you don't have to think about your own life. So I really think that, well, many people were drawn to more inner reflections, inner perspective. I think you say it like that here. But not everybody was really happy about that. So it was also a struggle for most of the people I saw struggling with that. And yes, it's not always easy, of course, to be forced to do some inner searching.
That's usually not easy. And I've heard the great resignation go to the great reshuffle, to the great reflection. To your point, Simone, about us being forced or kind of catalyzed into this moment of who are we now and what do we really want and need and what are we willing to accept and tolerate versus what are our options out there and what do I want? What do I want for my life? And when we talk about our work life, it is our life, right? I mean, the more time that we spend at work, it's all integrated, it's all blurred together. And so those decisions become quite profound.
Yes. Yes. I think that people had to make choices that they didn't want to make before the pandemic because they weren't really aware. They were into those questions.
Yes. Yes.
Did Jenn just leave us? Yeah, one of the things that one of the ingredients that I'm really seeing in this last week is that of agency. And it's an interesting topic in some of the previous sessions, if you were able to attend the other sessions, of how do we take this notion of Teal forward and what do we do? And that we're seeing right now in Ukraine and around the world, the notion of agency, that individuals do matter. And I can make a difference. I can do something, however small it is. And how are others seeing, but whether it's big with Ukraine or small within your personal circle, how are you seeing people using their agency differently or not, or recognizing they feel that they don't have agency? How are people seeing that?
One thing I've noticed is an increased interest in unionization. See a lot more Starbucks outlets unionizing. My wife is a physical therapist. They unionized during the pandemic. I think more people are claiming the power of labor back in the labor capital relationship.
I think that that's super interesting in the relationship between management and workers. That's definitely here in the States, something that is really coming up. What are others seeing?
It's interesting. My sister-in-law is a cardiac nurse and at a large hospital, and it was, the healthcare heroes, and now they are being treated just disposable, and it's just the shift of that. And she doesn't have any freedom. She doesn't have any agency.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I was speaking to a gentleman who is a retired head of hospitals at big hospitals that you've probably heard of here in the States. And I was just talking about the whole thing. In the States, we have traveling nurses who are getting, a higher salary. And he just made just a general comment, like that's not sustainable economically for the hospitals. So I think this whole notion of, in the healthcare sector, the nurses, what you pay, what the value is, how to schedule, it is really coming to light of just how it's just not working right now. And it was really inspiring to hear Joe Stabach talk about, oh my God, I forgot the name of his famous company.
Bertzorg.
Yeah, Bertzorg, today, I encourage all of you to listen to that session to talk about what he has to say about that.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear everyone's perspective on where do you think the responsibility lies for a beautiful work life?
Mm.
Is it an individual?
With the person self, I would
Yeah.
say,
Yeah,
because nobody else can be responsible for your happiness in any case.
right.
That would have also been my first kind of notion to say that. But then if we look at, and I would be interested, Jen, to hear more on the ingredient of org structure, right? So I think it's also, you can influence to a certain degree how, how beautiful your work life is there. But then when it comes to culture and leadership and the processes and the maybe, bureaucracy system in which you're trapped, then how is that? What's the kind of your research there around the org structure and the change that would potentially come with that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because in our survey, we did ask that question, where is the responsibility on an individual level, an organizational level, or a government level? And it pretty much went in that order, that it's the person whose responsibility it is first. But there are organizational structures that can enable and support. And I find that the more teams that I talk with, this conversation becomes broader. It's I think first consumed at an individual level, but then there is an opportunity for organizations to support people in understanding their own values and making sure that they have a career that aligns with it. And so they're being more fluid about their structures than perhaps in the past. And then, of course, governments can step in and create policy and regulation around work structures. I don't know a lot about it, but I know that, Norway has some really employee-friendly regulations that protect them and look out for how they work. And so there is that option as well. But I think that personally, it starts with the individual, because we have to understand what's most important to us first before we can look to any other structure to support that.
And on that, I'm curious, given that we start with ourselves, I'm curious if anyone has been in a situation that they wanted to change, however big or small it was, and if you were able to push out a little bit into your environment to make a change. Even as holding a meeting differently or changing a discussion, seeing a different voice in a meeting that needed to be brought out more and championing that. I mean, change can be quite small and have an impact.
Well, I would say that there would have been maybe thousands changes throughout my work life so far, and I think that every day I make new. So it's just how I think it's more of a natural thing to me. So I don't even think that I'm so aware of it. But now that you ask it, I should say every day a few. Yeah, always challenging people and myself included to make changes.
I have maybe a small example, but I think it shows some of the beautiful the ingredients for sure. So we had we're working in a consultancy. We're organizing self-organizing teams, and but still have kind of some roles that used to be there from before we were in self-organizing teams, and we reshuffled the team, split it in two. and realized, okay, we're still kind of stuck to, you know, the tasks that come with positions. Like there's a senior consultant and there's a coordinator and so on. And then there were some people that were kind of unhappy with what they did. We're like, okay, what do we do? You know, do we need to stick to our positions? Actually, we don't. And then decided, what if we could like take all tasks, look at all the tasks we have to do, and everyone just pulls all the tasks that they want to do and they're able to do. And then let's see what's left. And then whatever is left, you know, we all make a small sacrifice of kind of, okay, fine. Everyone gets 2 tasks they don't like. So we went through, I think 3 or 4 2-hour meetings spread out over like 2 weeks or so. You know, prepared all of that on a virtual whiteboard and kind of collected all those tasks first, did this poll of tasks, and then actually in the end said, okay, it's not necessarily 100% aligned with our roles, but or positions as in work contract, it doesn't matter at all. And in the end, we had actually no tasks left that no one didn't want to do, because everyone kind of, when they did it, we're kind of like, okay, you know, sure, we can, like, I don't mind, I can do it, right? And I felt in the end, actually, probably it wasn't as hugely different as it was before, because of course it was also according to competency, but I felt the process and having the freedom to decide and being able to have that conversation and, you know, having the feeling of, hey, I got to choose. We had a conversation. I was actually, you know, able to align expectations and to really go through that process, I think helped a lot the team then continue to work, increased satisfaction. And yeah, so that was really like a, small idea, small change. You know, like, okay, let's do it. Why are we not doing that? Yeah.
Great example. Thank you. I was talking to a CEO in the last couple of weeks, and he just made a comment. He goes, when people come and ask me a question, I don't answer it. I simply say, he says something to say, you can figure this out, or, you know, what do you think? And he did this enough. He said, now they don't even come to me and ask me anything because they know that I'll say that you need to figure it out. So I think that little thing can really make a difference.
Yeah, I was just talking to a client yesterday about something similar around redirecting people away. She's a leader of 110 people, and they come to her frequently. And she said, I want to be accessible to everyone, but it's also obviously very time consuming and draining. And so now the motto is redirect, because what she's found is that, what we have discussed together is that it's actually a development opportunity for people to go and form ideas and collaborations and to be creative in new ways of thinking and doing on their own versus constantly leaning on someone for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a question. What is one thing that you will commit to, either thinking about or doing, putting into action around having a more beautiful work life?
In my case, I stopped to work. It was probably the best action for me. I took a break, and it was something I was afraid of, and I just stopped working and made space for the unknown. And it was really, really rich, because it could allow me to be more aware of so many things, such as the stress, the tense body I could have. And these little experience bring me much more awareness. So to the question of Catherine before, it brings me more awareness for others also into the workplace. So it's the thing that probably will have the up to now, it's having a big impact on my relationship to work. For example, I am more aware of my energies. I was talking about aliveness, but if I am tired, I mean, I cannot. How can it be a lively workplace, right? So this is one example, and another example is just to give yourself space to explore what you like and what you love, which is something which was not so clear to me, and this is because I was with this big fog of tiredness and being in the routine and doing the same stuff every day. So stopping to work was probably the thing that give me bring me closer to having a richer work life.
Yeah, and I want to applaud you because it's not easy to stop work and give ourselves a break. It takes a lot of courage, and it's often the best thing that we can do for ourselves to reset and to be really clear about what we want to do moving forward. But again, it's not easy. These changes are so big, and so I want to recognize that for you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I know that for me, you know, I went to college and then I was done with school and I went right into work without really reflecting who I was and what was important to me and what I wanted to do. I was just kind of channeled right into work. And I think that maybe a new, better system might be time for us to reflect on growing into who we are. Or, you know, maybe it's getting some experience in the workforce and then pausing and having a pause be a natural part of the work experience so that we can be intentional about what we want to do moving forward.
Is it like having space by design, or I don't know, a pause by design?
Yes, yes, exactly.
I think I'm going to take with me the aliveness. Like something when you said, you know, we might have parts that are turned off. I was like, yeah, might be. So I think for me and for my team was this especially stressful start of the year. We also have like a lot of colleagues now from Russia or with friends in Ukraine that are actually, you know, their world is turning crazy right now, and I feel like with the workload and with all of that happening, I don't know. I want to somehow make again that room for that. Not necessarily. I don't want my team to quit their jobs, but you know, for making some room. Maybe make time for a session. Like remind ourselves that especially in those times where we don't have the time, we should take the time to pause and maybe have that conversation of, okay, let's bring everything to the table that we try to turn off so we can function every day, and just have that time for connecting and pausing together. Maybe.
I love it. Intentional pausing and pondering together.
And do your work environments incorporate that now? That ability to pause a little bit? I'm thinking of a LinkedIn post where the poster said, oh, we need purpose. It was all about purpose. And there was a flood of comments, like immediately, that said, purpose to boot. I'm burned out. I don't need purpose. I need time. They were so burnt out. And so the conversation we had here really made me think that ability to pause, and sometimes a pause may be taking a complete break of quitting. It could be just a vacation, but how could a little pause be incorporated into a work period so that we don't go to that feeling of being completely overwhelmed and burned out?
I would say that just really, it starts long before you get the feeling of being burned out, of course. So the depletion starts way before that. And if it's not in the normal way of working, that you take that pause that Katrien just described, and just also to realize that there's a tension or there's something that is really needed to be addressed or take the time for, and to give attention to. If it's not in the daily way, it's I think it's for most people it's very difficult to take that time and to feel that, oh, I really need that, but well, it's not very common, so I just move on. I just work along with everybody else, and I don't really give in to what my body is asking from me. So just following those signals, and not having the maybe not the freedom to take that time.
That also speaks to awareness,
Mm.
having self-awareness and being connected to that awareness, and being honest with ourselves. Like, okay, it doesn't matter what anyone else is feeling or needing. What I need is
Yes.
5-minute break, 50-day break, right? Like whatever we need. And it's just being honest with ourselves about that.
Yes, true.
And giving permission to ourselves to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that often comes with like a redefining success. I've been to Arusha Brower's talk earlier, where it's about redefining success and making mental health part of what success looks like, because being stuck in that culture of busyness and, okay, I need to just do more and work more, and my colleagues don't leave, so I'm also not leaving. And then there's always another project and another stretch assignment, another challenge you could take on for your personal development and career development, and almost a path to optimizing yourself. And I feel like making that pause and allowing yourself for that pause, also a measure of success, of realizing, okay, now it's time to actually step back, breathe, and then come back to it.
Yeah, and I think this is a really excellent point around our tendency to fill our time with everything. So it doesn't matter if we're filling our time with personal development activities or if it's something non-development related, it's still filling, and being complete is being complete regardless. And so why do we have this tendency to just do more all the time versus recognizing that doing is also sometimes doing nothing, just being, relaxing, connecting with self, putting our feet in the grass, letting ourselves breathe into our bellies, and just be a little bit slower and calmer than we typically are.
Yes, wouldn't it be amazing and beautiful to have everybody do like that in the workspace?
Right.
At that time, and to connect with Earth and everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, long way to go.
Yeah. So maybe we can start simply by taking 3 deep breaths at the start of every meeting. Instead of rushing in and rushing out, just simply 3 deep breaths together to start the meeting, to let ourselves slow down, to regulate our nervous systems just a bit.
Yes. Yes.
Why not doing it right now? Like,
do you want to do it right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. All right, let's do it. So for whoever is ready to do a little breath work, go ahead and get comfortable and then close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, lift the top of your head up towards the sky, like you're growing towards the sun or the moon, depending where you're at. And then take your attention down to your toes. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. So if your legs are crossed, uncross them and put your feet onto the ground. And connect to the stability of the earth, the grounding of the earth below. And then take your attention to the center of your chest, your heart center, and feel the compassion, the calm, the connection to all that is life. for yourself, for each other, for everything that exists. Now take your attention to your breath and inhale as big and wide as you can, pulling in as much air as you can hold into the body, into the lungs, and then all the way down into the belly. And then slowly exhale everything back out. Again, breathing in, trusting that everything you need is within your reach, that you are the architect and the author of your existence. And then slowly exhale everything back out, trusting that everything that does not serve you anymore is being gently carried away. One more big breath in, filling up all the way. And one more big breath out, letting go completely. And then as you're ready, opening up your eyes. So that was a little more than 3 breaths, but I thought since we are here together, it would be nice to have that. All right, we just have a couple more minutes here. Catherine, did you have any other questions you wanted to address?
Well, we do have just a couple more minutes. First, I just want to thank Jenn very much for sharing this with us and in holding a space for us and leading really a lovely discussion afterwards. And thanks to all of you for hanging out and being part of this. Of course, there's a recording here to listen to it again, or for those that weren't with us live. We will be exiting this session. I want to invite all of you to come over to the Spatial Chat Garden. It's garden number 5. I put it in the chat, and the URL is in the chat as well. So please, I invite you to come and talk with us there. Or if you want to check out another garden, please do that. Is there anything else anyone wants to add?
Any last comments or questions?
Well, I think it's a very good thing that this is a topic of research, and that you're sharing this research with the world, because I think that beautiful work is what everybody should have, and I'm working on it from my end here in the Netherlands, and so yes, it's good to know that there are more people working on this this purpose.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And thank you for saying that we all deserve a beautiful work life, because we do indeed deserve to do work that is meaningful, that is completely supportive of who we are in this world, that is indeed even beautiful.
Thank you very much.
And thank you all for your patience. Thanks for hanging in
Thank you,
there.
everyone.